Welcome back to the formation lap after the checkered flag with Todd and Brad. And what an Austrian Grand Prix we saw. We saw George Russell take P1 to cut into Kimi's lead. Max Verstappen, what a drive from Max to get back on the podium. It feels like it's been a minute. And then Kimi Antonelli has a better weekend, gets back on the podium. But we're going to break it down for you here. Elite Racing, regular guys. Todd, I'll welcome you in here and get your initial thoughts on what we saw at the Red Bull Ring on Sunday.
Yeah, Brad, it's exciting. I tell you, I was hot just watching it, and I wasn't even there. It was a crazy race. We had all kind of expectations, all kind of upgrades, and it was a beautiful place. I mean, I wish we could have gone, right? But it was something else, and it played out pretty well. It played out where qualifying ended up being the set of the race, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of places you want to see passing and stuff. We saw passing, but that setup with the qualifying made the difference, and there
Mm-hmm.
was some misses there too. But I think it was great to see George back, and he drove a quiet race, kind of boring race in his mind, but you know what? He won, and he's back on the podium, and I think he did well at managing it well. And we didn't hear as much of his George complaints, might you say, right? In that regards. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was great. George did great. Max, is he coming back? It would be great to see him come back with that car in qualifying. They had him messed up a little bit, and of course, if you
Mm-hmm.
watched it, you saw that he wrecked because his rear wing wasn't quite right. And folks, that was throwing it off. He couldn't figure it out, and somehow in the race, and they knew about it, and they got it set up for the race. And let me tell you, he was magnificent
Yeah.
on that. So yeah, I thought it was great, and some other storylines that we'll talk about as we go through. But I thought they were the great in seeing Lewis and Max go at it for a short stint there. That was cool. But
Mm-hmm.
you want to talk about those that really trended up, Brad, as we recap?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think to me, Todd, George is an obvious one. This is now two straight races that he's cut into Kimi's lead. So that was super positive. I mean, can't say enough about the Racing Bull guys. Liam and Arvid Lindblad continue just to put in really, really solid performances. That was big. And then I'm going to say Red Bull as a whole, it was obviously a really, really positive race for Max, but Isaac looked, he looked racy and he looked really, really good at some points. And a strong six P6 finish for him. So that definitely is, I think, got to have Red Bull confident right now. Obviously, heading into Silverstone and as we continue this summer European stretch. But Todd, who for you is kind of trending up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm there with George, right? Because he finally was able to put it all together.
Hmm.
Max for sure, and Red Bull, like you said, Isaac. I think Oscar,
Yeah,
came
yeah,
up, and he was a little surprised, but you know what? He didn't let that bother him, and he was able to make some progress, and he got to pass a Ferrari, and so I think they did well. Lando didn't do as well as Oscar, but and then Racing Bulls. I'm telling you, they may be the hottest midfield team right now in Formula One,
absolutely, absolutely.
and they've done well. Audi or Audi, however you want to say it, they had some huge zero aero upgrades in that worked. Didn't get the points, but they got a little more competitive. And so
Hmm.
I think the results are there. The speed is getting there. So I think there they are, the trending, the top four, and then you got Racing Bulls and probably Audi sitting right there
Yeah.
with them. And Brad, it was an exciting race. I wish we could have seen a little more at the front,
Hmm.
but I thought it was great. But who do you think is kind of trending down as we head into Silverstone?
I'm gonna say Todd. I hate to say it, this is your team, but I'm gonna say Ferrari.
Yeah,
And I know me and you talked about in our preview of the race that you know Ferrari was coming with this huge engine upgrade, and we expected them to really, really maybe be right there with Mercedes. And a great qualifying session from Lewis and Charles. Both of them showed, that one lap pace they needed, and then it's just a really bad race for both of them. Lewis is still in it. He's very, very much right there with Kimi and George, but he took a step back, and then Todd, I just don't know what's going on with Charles. Really ever since Monaco week, when his, I know that the details have not been released, but we both know that he's on this lifetime contract with Ferrari.
Yeah.
He hasn't shown it, and I think the same thing is happening to Lando is happening with Charles. They're both very, very capable, but they have zero confidence in the car right now. Their teammates have kind of figured it out, but they have no confidence in the car right now. And I would put Lando right there as kind of trending down a little bit too there, but
Yeah.
Charles is struggling. Todd, this team has had a rough season, but man, Cadillac. They had come with some upgrades. They were excited. Both Valtteri and Checo Perez had both shown a couple of flashes in practice, and they both make it through. I know Valtteri made it through, I think, one lap, and Checo made it through 4 laps, and boom, Cadillac is packing up, and they probably got out of there, beat all the traffic and everything. So terrible weekend from them, and then Williams. Carlos retires, and
Yeah.
Alex Albon was 2 laps down. Williams cannot figure it out. So that's a couple of drivers / teams for me. What about you? Who's trending down
Yeah,
for
and I'm
you?
with you. Got so excited about my Ferrari guys,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
thought they were breaking through. They had the front row basically locked out.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do it, and they ended up finishing P5, P8, and so they've got some things to do. Even Lewis said we're slow, and I don't know
Yeah.
why, because they were boiling it in the qualifying, and they were close to being on the front. They just got to figure it out, and I don't know if they'll make it. They're putting a lot of effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
Aston Martin, as we talked, they're waiting on upgrades, but guess what? They're running out of time.
Oh, absolutely,
I don't
absolutely.
think it's going to make Williams, as you talked about. That's one of the biggest disappointments, in that race, and
Yeah.
they've stopped a lot. And then I think Kimi, he's slightly trending down because he made mistakes. If you watch qualifying and the race, he made some mistakes, and some of that's expected for a 19-year-old.
Right.
But I
Right.
think a little bit of the pressure is getting to him. He handled it well in the interviews. So I don't think that was the thing, but he's showing that he's still human. We talked about that a little bit ago, but just in the opening race, the lap or two, he made some, what's he doing off the track, and he was trying to think ahead and then got stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Brad, I think, as you're heading into Silverstone, it's a very technical track, and it's going to yet again, like Barcelona, put you to the test.
Absolutely.
And if the weather comes, oh
Oh
my,
man, yeah, I know we've seen it the past couple of years that you either get some heavy rain or a pretty big shower just come out of nowhere. Todd, something that stood out to me, in these last several races is in Miami we saw McLaren with big upgrades, and what happened? Oscar and Lando were both on the podium. Ferrari comes with big upgrades in Barcelona. Lewis gets the win. Charles struggles. What happens this past weekend? It's Red Bull that comes with the big upgrades. Max in second. Really good race from Isaac. It seems like when these teams come with a big upgrade, they're competitive that weekend. And I won't say it's a drop off, but it's like Mercedes, we know that they're showing the most consistency, and that whoever else is on the podium is kind of an unknown at that time. So it's Silverstone's going to be really intriguing because outside of George and Kimmy, we truly, Todd, I feel like it's a week to week thing. You don't quite know who's on the podium.
right.
I know my guys have definitely had some struggles. Oscar, I think, is in good form. Same thing with your guys. Lewis is in better form than Charles is. Hey, we're talking about one of the greatest of all time, and Max. Max showed it, but is this truly Red Bull coming to fight McLaren and Ferrari for that second constructor, or was this kind of a one-off that Red Bull came with a big upgrade package for Austria, and now they're going to kind of cool back down. That's the big storyline to me, is who is a true contender to Mercedes, and I, none of them are, in my opinion, are going to catch them. But who is the true number two team, and who else is just made the right upgrades at the right time and are going to cool off? That to me is a really big storyline. And you mentioned it. Kimmy's got to get some confidence back. And look, Todd, this is two straight races. His lead has been. There's been some points cut into his lead. He needs to get back in P1, or he's going to have. We thought it was Lewis, but now George is right back in it as well.
Yeah, no, I'm totally agree on that, Brad. And I think this year we've seen more upgrades earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they only have so much budget. So, folks, there's only so much money they can spend. So it's interesting kind of watching this, because they're throwing a lot of upgrades at these cars, and we're about mid-year. Silverstone's kind of the peak, and then we start heading towards the end of the season, and they have put a lot of effort to get there, and we haven't seen, sometimes, as you said, that these upgrades continue to work, and I think they haven't figured these cars out either, because some of these tires that they were using in Austria, they should have done better. And, they put the hard tires on Lewis and Max, and they didn't gain a thing. And the hard tire, after it heated up, should have taken them, and started cutting into the lead on some of the medium. So I think the teams are struggling too. And I think Mercedes has got, a lot of it figured out. We're seeing it, right?
Yeah.
They're coming in each week. And Ferrari's there, Red Bull got there, McLaren. So I think it's always going to be Mercedes, and we'll see what happens. But I think, as you look at it, folks, the upgrades is, it's just putting some fancy stuff on the car that makes it aerodynamic, or the floor, or, a number of things. But after a while, Brad, they can't keep making these upgrades, because
that's right.
they're out of money, and there's only so much money they can spend. So that's going to be interesting. But I think Silverstone is where they've been heading to.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we'll see where that goes. But, I think Red Bull and Racing Bull, if they can get the car right, they both got the best engine, the second half of the year could be really surprising.
Really interesting. And that's going to, that's going to be the story to tell. Well, want to thank you once again for joining us here on After the Checkered. It's our reaction to the race. And as Todd mentioned, watch out later this week for our Silverstone Grand Prix video. If you haven't watched this race, I would say, Todd, outside of Monaco, it may be kind of one of the most prestigious races, and it's just because it's a very technical course. You are going to see some passing, but it is a course that's absolutely going to push these guys' limit. And another cool thing is, most of these teams' headquarters, the course is only about 20-25 minutes away. Yeah, so it's and then not to mention, we've got a bunch of there's several British drivers here on the grid this year, so it's going to be entertaining. So keep an eye out for that. But once again, we appreciate the support. Continue to give these videos a like. It helps us out. Give us your thoughts in the comment section about what we saw in Austria. Who do you think is that second constructor? What do you think of all the upgrades? And we love for the fans that follow the midfield teams. We love to talk about the midfield teams just as much as the big four. And please subscribe to our channel. We're going to continue to bring you F1 content. We are loving doing this. Elite racing talked about by regular guys. So once again, thank you for joining us here on After the Checkered Flag, and we will see you next time here on the Formation Lap.